Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is February the 28th, 1441 on the ancient moon calendar and 2021 on the Greco-Roman calendar. We have quite a bit of ground to cover today, so I want to go ahead and get started. I'm not sure how many of you have felt the same thing, but myself and one of the justices in the territory here yesterday were just having a conversation about how we knew that the foreign hybrids and that really essentially the whole earth was waiting for us to do something, but we didn't really know what that something was. And I knew that we had to grow into whatever that something was together as a nation, like we're doing. And now we know what that something is, and we're going to do it today. I'm very excited about that. And we'll talk some more about that as we go, because it's going to be a part of what we do today. Having said that, 2 weeks ago on February the 8th, I was detained, and most of you know that already, and that was not a hostile detention. It was not that, not on my part. And when we went into the, behind the lines there, some things took place where we were doing Moorish American Moroccan consular court actions behind the line there in the jail on our sovereign land, by the way. And each time that we did the court action, the hybrids honored our sovereign jurisdiction. How do we know that they honored our sovereign jurisdiction? Because I had spoken about this on my testament video on YouTube at Like the Rize channel, where I talked about being detained and how I fasted the whole time. I did a water-only fast. But after about the third day of not eating, and that was all voluntary, that was actually by my own authority, there was a goon squad called in. A goon squad is just a whole bunch of well-fed hybrid foreign, doing business as corrections officers. They came to the cell door, but they couldn't open the door because I had been doing consular court action. So I did another consular court action on them while they were standing at the door, and they had to go away. They came to violently take me to a place where they force feed people. Okay, and the ancestors were not going to allow that as long as I honored them. So when I did the court action, that particular group had to leave, and they did not return, which was part of what I told them. Leave the cell area and do not return, because this is a court cell. So that happened actually a couple of times while I was in there. And each time that I did the court action, our sovereign jurisdiction was honored, which is something that we have been waiting to witness. The difference between what I did then and what we normally do is that it was very simple. We just raised them from the dead first, then did the court action. And raising them from the dead was part of the court action. So we started off each one of our court actions with all rize and stande. Because we know when we go into the fake venues, which we don't go into the fake venues, but when we used to think that we had to go there, they would start off by saying all rize, and then the fake judge would come in and seat everyone. And that was their jurisdiction right there. That's why it didn't really matter what you said once you got up and it was your turn to speak or whatever, you know. They didn't really care what you said then because they got jurisdiction right off the bat. So we took that information and put it on its in its rightful place, which is in the hands of the Moors, and we kept everyone alive. We raised them from the dead and kept them alive while we spoke to them. And when we did it that way, they honored our sovereign status each and every time. So now, the week before my detainment, we had gone to this building here in the territory. So I want to finish up all that had to do with that building and the detainment, and then we're going to do something that the whole earth has been waiting for us to do since they found out that we were waking up en masse. But I want to start off first by showing a couple of photos of, you know, of the place that we were at, what it looked like before when we got there. Before we got there, or what it looked like when we got there versus what it looked like once we were done doing the cleanup, etc., on our own land. Because again, our land should never be dirty and raggedy with trash everywhere. That's just not how we do things. So I'm going to show you a couple of photos of the place. This is actually notification that I placed. This is the door, the quote-unquote employee door to the policy enforcer station at Federal Way Territory. I placed our documents on the door, on the outside, to ensure that someone would get the documents. The same way that they do with their, you know, when they have a fake sheriff to come and they put a, you know, a notice on the door, et cetera, et cetera. So I placed the notification on the door just to notify them yet again. And then, let's see, here are a couple of other, and then this is what the place looked like right here. It was just a mess. It was a mess. The place was a mess when we got there. So we began to clean up the mess and pick up all of the trash and the dirt. You know, there was homeless clothing. There was evidence of homeless people living there, etc. We cleaned everything up, and then it looked like this when that's the stuff all the trash and stuff that we picked up in a pile. We piled it up together on the ground, and then this is what it looked like afterwards. Okay, which is a huge difference in what it looked like before, because there was trash everywhere. We picked that up, and then this is a conveyance that came onto the property, and they were claiming some type of interest in the property. And although I was able to get the VIN number and the tag, I still could not find out whose conveyance this was, who they were, because they kept it very secretive about those that were claiming that they had something to do with the building, some ownership in the building, but they, you know, clearly they didn't have any claim of ownership that was, you know, valid, because they wouldn't even let us know who they were. But that's okay, because we just named everyone that had anything to do with that place. Let me just make sure that I make it so that you all can see. Just a moment. Yeah, it should be on the screen. Is there anything on the screen now? Can you see the photos on the screen? I want to be sure that you can see. You can see them? Okay, great, 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 great. And let me go back up to the top so that you can see just how the place was just a mess. It was a mess. And again, this is the entryway to the employee entrance for the ones doing business as policy enforcers at Federal Way. This is our sovereign notice, lawful documents on their you know, their entryway. And it's not their entryway, it's actually ours. And then this is what the place looked like. There was trash everywhere. Hopefully you can see the photos. If you can see the photos, let me know in the chat that you can see them. Let me see. Let me just make sure. Yeah, it should be showing on, I'm sharing my screen. So some can see and some cannot. Yes, Justice, you can. It's not locked. The meeting's not locked. You can. Let's see. So some can see the photos and some cannot. Those who can't see, you may want to go out and come back in so that you can see, because I do want everyone to be able to see this, because we're going to actually issue a ruling, a verdict on this today again. And not again because this would actually be a new a continuation of what we were doing previously. Okay, yes, Justice Frank, and okay, great. Now you can see them. Good, 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 good. Because I want to be sure that everyone can see, so that there's a well-informed, you know, that we have all the facts about the place and everything. The place is definitely ours. We know that, but so is every place on our land. But this is what it looked like before. There was, again, evidence of, you know, homeless activity on the grounds, and, you know, just trash everywhere. And so we just went ahead and started cleaning up and picking everything up and putting everything together on our land, because our land should never be, you know, our land should never look like this. This is the vast estate. Why is the vast estate looking like this? It should never look like this. So we went ahead and cleaned up the area, and this is the pile of rubbish and clothing and, you know, things that were there. Yes, if you can't see, then you may want to sign out and sign back in, because most who are in there can see, but there are still some who can't see. And it's probably your operating system, because the majority can see. So, yes, that's, I wanted to be sure we could all see exactly what, and then here's the photo, the cleanup photos. Here's one of the photos of the place after we got finished. And I was going to go and get a broom and sweep this walkway just to make it look even neater, because it needed to be cleaned up very badly. Our land should never look the way this looked when we got there. It was just, you know, horrific. And it's resources that are sitting there unused on our land, you know, going to waste essentially, until we do something with it. And again, this is a conveyance that was that came after we were there. This conveyance showed up. And here's the numbers. It's B22092X, and the VIN number is 1GBHG31U05123935. Okay. I don't know whose conveyance that is, but I'd love to know who it's assigned to. Those are Washington State plates on the conveyance. So, and then here is another photo of just the clean area that we cleaned up because there was, you know, stuff everywhere. Just a moment. Let me get back up here. Yeah, there it is. You know, and then our flag is there. The land is cleaned up and does reflect the cleanliness that we Moroccan Moors are known for. So I wanted to, yes, we are the real owners. We are the real heirs to that land and the building, etc. So what we want to do today is now that we see and, you know, after all of the detainment and everything, everyone was properly notified. And after the detainment, especially since during the detainment, our sovereign jurisdiction was honored. When we said go away from the cell, those who were from the courtroom cell, those who were out there did exactly as we instructed them and commanded them to do. And so now we want to continue. In that vein, using our sovereign consular court, Article 3 court, to continue with the possession of this property lawfully, because that's how we do things. Now that we have proven to all involved that our sovereign status is the superior, supreme sovereign law for the land, we want to continue that. So, all rise and stand. This is a universal, original, indigenous, sovereign, living, Article 3, Moorish American, Al-Moroccan consular court action. I am sovereign, living justice, Pauline Denise Ritchie, in capitis dimiutio nolo, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. This sovereign cause for action is that we, the people, who are the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government versus, and when we say versus, that just means this is what we are stating for the record. It's not a war, and it's not we, us versus them type thing. It's not that kind of versus, because you know, we're the sovereign supreme on the land, and there is no other, so we don't need to war against or fight anyone or anything like that. But when we say versus, it just means we're speaking, stating on the record a lawful verdict. The Moorish National Republic federal government versus City of Federal Way Corporation and all agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and any derivatives thereof, to include Terry Lucan, doing business as Judge Pro Tem Corporation, Karama Hawkins, doing business as City Attorney Corporation, Benjamin Singh, doing business as Federal Way Police Officer Corporation, Kurt Schwan, doing business as Administrator Corporation, Curtis Tucker, doing business as Gore Jail Coordinator, City of Kent Corporation, Jay Inslee, doing business as Governor, State of Washington Corporation, and then we also want to add all mayors, all those doing business as mayor. Mayors, mayors of Kent, City of Kent Corporation, and City of Federal Way Corporation. We want to make sure we get everyone. They've already been leaned, all of these. Cause for action number. 1A0250975 in red in all lowercase letters. The cause for action is constitutional due process, and the cause is uplifted to our sovereign, supreme, Moorish American, Moroccan Consular Court for nationality diversity, as pursuant to the Constitution for the United States, 1789 and 1791, Articles 3 and Article 6, and also pursuant to the Treaty for Peace and Friendship, 1786 and 1836. So we have begun new cases, but they're elevated to sovereign nationality diversity cases, and we are the only ones who can minister the Constitution where nationality diversity is concerned. Cause for action number 7Z1201571 is competency. We are based on the actions of the subjects formerly doing business as employees at City of Federal Way Corporation, City of Kent Corporation, and Scorgel Corporation. To include those named above, they all have been deemed by this sovereign Article 3 Consular Court as not competent. Therefore, each and all are hereby commanded to attend mandatory constitutional law re-education training class to be provided by this court, either by internet or in your propria persona, and provide proof of attendance in writing with living subject signature to this consular court within 6 months. Failure to do as commanded shall result in your arrest and detainment for up to 1 year. So all have been deemed not competent to minister law in any way, shape, form, not competent. Cause for action number 7Z0714492 in capitis dimiutio nolo. Unlawful occupation on sovereign original indigenous land at ancient Federal Way, Washington Reservation. And the reason we spell reservation the way that we spell it, which is ancient English, and we use that word reservation, means that that land is only for certain ones, which is the sovereign heirs, and it is withheld from all others. And that is what a reservation is. It is when it's specifically and specially held land for the heirs and no others. So cause for action number 7Z0714492, unlawful occupation on sovereign original indigenous land at ancient Federal Way, Washington Reservation, has been properly established by this sovereign Article 3 Consular Court, as all doing business in all capital letters in black ink have proven by their not competent, unlawful, stateless status that they are not competent to govern any land. They are not competent to govern any natural resources, and they are not competent to govern any commerce on our land. All land, all natural resources, and all commerce on all sovereign lands is hereby in the possession of and governed entirely by the people who are the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. This is our sovereign verdict this day into perpetuity. To this sovereign spoken affidavit, we will further add commands momentarily. But I did want to start that court action, and we will finish it up here shortly. But I wanted to ask, again, from, the very beginning, we've had a feeling that there was something that we needed to do. Something that we needed to do. We were not sure what that something was until recently. And that something is we are going to raise all foreign hybrids from the dead today, because they've been walking around on our land as corpses and corporations because no one raised them from the dead. And that was how we got them to honor the sovereign jurisdiction is by raising them from the dead first and then speaking to them. And when we spoke to them, they could hear us because they were naturalized to do so. When we raise them from the dead, they become living like we are. And then they can hear. But the living and the dead, light and dark, cannot dwell together. So we could not speak to them properly in their dead status because we've always been alive. We've never been dead. So what we want to do is as a nation raise them from the dead. But I want to read something for you, Moors, because we are bringing forth our own servants here on the land. They've always been subjects and servants, and they are very proud of that. And we're going to bring them forth as living subjects and servants here on our land. Zechariah 3, the 3rd chapter, verses 3 through 10. And this is about us. This is about the Moors. And very little of this was edited, but as you know, the bibliotext has been hypothecated, and we are changing it back to what it should be. So I wanted to read this to you. Verse 3 says, "Now Joshua," which means justice, "was dressed in filthy clothes as he stood before the angel. The angel said to those who were standing before him, 'Take off his filthy clothes.' Then he said to Joshua, 'See, I have taken away your sin,'" which is the presumed corporate covering, that's the sin, "and I will put fine garments on you." Now, heirs, pay close attention to what the bibliotext says is fine garments. "Then I said, 'Put a clean turban on his head.'" And this is straight from the Biblio. Fine garments, a turban is considered part of fine garments. It says, "Then I said, 'Put a clean turban on his head.' So they put a clean turban on his head and clothed him, while the angel of the law stood by." The angel of the law gave this charge to Joshua. "This is what the supreme law says. If you will walk in obedience to the law and keep the law, then you will govern your own vast house and have charge of your own sovereign court. And you will take your place among these standing here." And there were other gods standing there. "Listen, high priest Joshua, you and your ancestors seated before you, who are the living symbols of those to come. You are going to bring forth your servant, the branch. See the stone that has been set in front of Joshua, or justice. There are 7 eyes on that one stone, and you will engrave an inscription on it. You will write the law, as it is written in the law, and you will remove all inequity from this your land in a single day." And that's what we're going to do today, is remove all inequity from our land by raising those dead corpses from the dead and speaking directly to them. Verse 10 says, "Today each of you, the gods who are the law, will invite your neighbor to sit under your vine and fig tree where you stand," proclaims the sovereign law, who is the Moroccan Moors. And the bibliotext does say, "Sit under your vine and fig tree," and we know that that's straight also from the Circle 7. So at this time we say, "Rise and stand, all rise and stand." This is the sovereign living, Article 3, Moorish American Al-Moroccan Consular Court Action. We are the sovereign living justices, and all can insert their sovereign appellations there. I am Pauline Denise Ritchie, the living sovereign in capitis dimiutio nolo, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. Your names were those of dead corporations who were unlawfully occupying the sovereign living land that is the inheritance for the universal sovereign living natural divine, original indigenous ancient Moroccan Moors. With this sovereign Article 3 living court action, we hereby bring all subjects onto the living land to serve as you were created to serve the gods for this earth, the Moors. Do you understand that no United States corporation, company, citizens, nor their agents, principals, heirs, assigns, nor any derivatives thereof has personam jurisdiction, nor territorial jurisdiction, nor subject matter jurisdiction over me nor over any Moors? Do you understand that you are bound by the Treaty for Peace and Friendship, 1786 and 1836? Do you understand that you are bound by the Constitutions for the United States, 1789 and 1791? Do you understand? And we say, yes, you do understand, because you understood last week while I was in the detainment center camp. Each of you is hereby commanded to rise, to live, and to stand servant to your Creator. You each will take a 2-week constitutional law re-education training class within the next 365 days. Failure to appear will result in 2 weeks in jail, where you will take the class anyway, and an additional 11 months and 2 weeks, up to 11 months and 2 weeks in jail. We hereby speak life to all subjects at earth who were previously doing business as servant magistrates, servant sheriff, servant military, all branches, servant policy enforcers, servant grocers, servant retail workers, servant clerks of court, servant bailiffs, servant bankers, servant finance workers, servant public education workers, servant medical workers, servant governors, servant mayors, servant postal workers, servant city workers, servant state workers, servant federal workers, servant presidents, servant residents, servant citizens, servant hybrids, and every living creature. You are hereby commanded to rise and stand. Our sovereign justice, where property at mailing location, care of 32910 First Avenue South at Federal Way, Washington Reservation, based on the clear actions of all servants who did submit on the record to our sovereign Article 3 Moorish American Moroccan Consular Court jurisdiction, and actions held on sovereign land unlawfully claimed by Scorgio Corporation from February 8, 1441 through February 19, we hereby award the said property located at care of 32910 First Avenue at Federal Way, Washington, Sovereign Land Reservation, to the living people who are the universal, sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine, Moroccan, Moorish, National Republic, federal government at the North Gate. Additionally, we hereby award all land, all natural resources, and all commerce at the land previously unlawfully claimed by the City of Federal Way Corporation, City of Kent Corporation, and all agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and any derivatives thereof, to the sovereign living people who are the universal, sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine, Moroccan, Moorish, National Republic, federal government. Further, this higher Article 3 Moorish American Moroccan Consular Court does hereby award 100 million gold-backed sovereign credits to the living people who are the universal, sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine, Moroccan, Moorish, National Republic, federal government, due within the specified time period as pursuant to the attached forthcoming notification that shall be received by the aforementioned servants within 14 days from today. We have proclaimed eternal peace on our sovereign land into perpetuity. Isaiah 1:26, I will restore your justices as at the first, and your consulars as at the beginning. Afterward you shall be called the righteous city, the faithful city. Isaiah 22:22, the key to the vast estate is hereby given to the Moors. So when they shall open doors, no one shall be able to shut them. And when they shut doors, no one shall be able to open them. Sumus de sanctum unum, we are the holy ones. Sumus de sanctum unum, sumus de sanctum unum. Nous qui vivons do hereby proclaim, Oldin ma oldran, gunalid nizit imanga doldran. Amindico vobis, quae cum case sumus veritas superterum et legata et in quello et quae cum case sumus sol veritas superterum et intoluto et in quello. This sovereign justice stands as law of peace and grand rising to all of risen and rising humanity. And At this time, I'm going to go ahead and unmute the Moors, and those in favor of the previous action, please state Islam for
Islam. Fuck off, Lord. Stupid fucking Lord.
Islam. So I wanted to go ahead and get that court action finished up because our sovereign status and all that has to do with our sovereign status was honored while we were in the detainment camp. And we knew we would get to this point at some point. I'm glad that we're here now because it's been a long time coming for us. And we want to ensure that everyone is aware of where we are as the nation and as the government. Okay. At this time, I'm going to put everyone on mute, and then if you have any questions, heirs only, please, go ahead and star 6 and ask your question. And if there are any infiltrators, you will be put out of here as soon as you speak. Islam. Any questions? Star 6 and the meeting. Star 6 and we'll go ahead and take any questions that you may have. Islam.
Nobody believes your shit, Pauline.
There you go. Okay. Yep. That's all we needed was for you to just say a couple of words so we could get you out of here. Any questions from the heirs? Islam, nobility.
It's a Malik Bukhari from Lami's territory. And yes. I was wondering though that as far as raising them from the dead, does that clear up their unlawful occupation on the sovereign indigenous land?
Yes,
it does.
It does.
Wow.
Now this is
that's kind of
all in one day. Yes, all in one day it does.
Yeah, well.
In the prophecies, it says that all in one day, what needed to be done was going to be done. And I was not sure, again, what that was, but now we know. I saw it with my own eyes in there, Justice, Now, we each are going to have to do the court actions face-to-face with them. Whenever you have any issues with them, do a court action right away, face-to-face, just like we just did.
So
raise them. Yes, go ahead, Justice.
So this is kind of a lot, all of a sudden, because in my view, here in Kourte territory, they're very competent in knowing that they're unlawful. So I just can't fathom them not being competent of their unlawfulness. And in each and every step that, from my view, as I've been observing, they adjust to everything we are competent of, and they're still belligerent. So I just can't see them all of a sudden being willing to be in subject status. And I'm very observant in Kourte territory. I don't talk much, but I do a lot of listening, and I discern a lot of things. So I really have maybe issues with that sort of instantly clearing up, because I haven't seen none of that being done in this territory where I'm at. They'll be nice as long as they realize they're still being able to usurp our land and our rights and our freedom and everything. But I really can't see that. You gotta be honest here doing that. I really can't.
I appreciate your honesty there. I appreciate that because that's important. It's important that we hear that and know that. Okay? It's very important that we hear and know that. And the reason being is because anyone who allows them to stay in that dead status, they're going to, the ones that they're going to stay in that dead status and they're going to act like they're dead, like they can't hear you. They're going to act like that if you let them stay in that dead status. The minute you raise them from the dead, just watch what happens. Write down the court action piece, and then all I can say is when you feel comfortable to demonstrate it, and watch what happens. And go from there. Listen, I hear what you're saying because when I was in there, if I hadn't witnessed it more than once, I probably would have been, a little thinking, well, maybe that was just a fluke. I don't know. Maybe. But I witnessed it repeatedly over and over. And see, I know some Moors who've been to that place prior to my going there this time. And when that same goon squad came, unfortunately, the Moors were stripped naked and left naked in the cell, the cold cell, by that group. So when I did the court action and they wouldn't even come in the door, and this happened several times, and it actually happened every day repeatedly when the fake psychologists and all of them came through. None of them could open the door and come in. None. None of them could. And to me, that was just when I could feel the ancestors in my spirit say, now just use the tools that you have. And when they said that, off we went with the court actions, and those guys disappeared. They elevated it on their end, supposedly, to the crisis team. And the crisis team is just twice as many bullies in uniform with capital letters on their clothing. And they couldn't even do anything. And they're supposed to be the quote-unquote negotiators and all of the high-end whatever goons. They couldn't do anything. They had to walk away too. And they usually come in and manhandle people. But I saw it with my own eyes many times. Every time I raised them from the dead, some of them would still be talking, and I would just tell them, be quiet, it's court, be quiet. And then I would continue doing my court action. I'll tell you this. If you stop and listen to the spells they cast are directly in alignment with the programming that we've been fed. So if you listen to them, they're going to strike a chord and the inducement to fraud piece, okay? But I didn't listen to them. I just did my court action. And when I stayed on my court action and went from start to finish, they couldn't do anything. There was only one of them that threw me off temporarily, but it was only for a split second that I was thrown off that I realized, I'm going to keep going because it doesn't matter what you say. I've seen it too many times in here. And I know that that's why the ancestors sent me there, so that I would see with my own eyes that we can stop them. And that I did another demonstration just, let me see, today is Sunday. I did it Friday. I traveled down to the quote-unquote capital, and it's not the capital for them, it's the capital for us. Okay, I traveled down there, and I was going to go onto the grounds, and I went through the first set of whatever that is, blockades. They have ones doing business and state patrol there, and I went through the first one. I just told him I'm going to the Temple of Justice, and he's like, oh, sure, no problem. You know, when they see the turban, you know, some of them automatically know what to do. Well, I ran into one who didn't know what to do, and he wanted to stop me. Well, when I said, all rise and stand, it was like a switch went off in his head. And he froze in place because his back was to me when I said that. He froze in place. And just as he was turning around to do as I told him to do, the ancestor said, the only reason that we don't want you to go any further is because you're supposed to send your documents ahead of you. And you didn't send your documents ahead of you. So go ahead and go, but know that they have to listen to what you say when you say that. So I witnessed it again on Friday. So I would say, Justice, it's fair for you to say that. It's very fair, and I'm actually glad to hear you say that because I know that there are other Moors who feel the same way about that because we've been through so much. We've been through so much, and, you know, all I can say is if you don't want to do the court actions like that in, you know, face-to-face, transcribe a court action like that onto an affidavit and send it. Because I'm going to do a lot of that here in this territory as well. Is I'm sending my documents ahead of me where grocery stores and things like that are concerned. You know, we've been doing good so far. They don't press that mask issue around here because we just don't wear them, and we just won't wear them because that's not what we do. But I'm going to start sending out court actions written just like that, all rise and stand, and putting them in their proper living subject space and place, because that's actually where they're supposed to be. They're alive. They're living, but they can't live unless their creator says for them to live. And we all are their creators. So we have to tell them, rise and stand. And when we tell them to rise and stand, stand. Okay? They'll rise and stand, and they will do exactly as you state for them to do. It was for me, it made the difference between them coming in there, stripping me naked and leaving me cold, in a cold. It was the difference between that and what actually happened, which was them stopping in their tracks and leaving when I said, go away from this cell and do not return. And I didn't say leave because leave, and this is something we were not really aware of until like later, but when we say leave means take your leave and then come back. So I didn't use that term. I said go away from this courtroom cell and do not return. And they didn't. Then another group came, same thing, they left. Then another group came on the final day and they took me out of there. And that was not even a hostile. I walked out, but they had me by my arms on my way out, and that was, that was okay. I just wanted our ancestors to know that I was going to do exactly as they wanted me to do and no one else. We were moving by our own authority and no one else's. And so now that Islam. Go ahead, Justin.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but did you say that there were other Moors there while you were there?
There's one there that I know of for sure, and since then he's not there anymore. They moved him to someplace else. But I did hear from him. But what I was really saying was in the past, Moors had gone there before I got there. And they had gone in, and they had come out, you know, they had come out, but while they were there, you know, they were stripped naked and, you know, by that same group of goons, you know. And I'm glad that they were able to come out of it, you know, and they're back at work, you know, at the work of nation building. So, you know, we're always happy to hear that, you know, that the Moors keep going even after being tried like that. So it's just that's not a joke. That's nothing to play with. And I knew going in there that it was nothing to play with too. So I just listened to the ancestors from the very beginning, and I just said, hey, you know, I know you all have me here to show me something. Whatever it is that you want to show me, I'm open to seeing it. And that's what they showed me, that we can raise them from the dead and speak to them, and they will yield and do exactly as we tell them to do.
Islam Empress.
Islam.
I'd like to just share this little information that I discovered in doing some research dealing with the court and how I fare with that. I think I shared it with you before, but I don't think I've shared it with anyone else. Reference to court, the judge, when he comes in and say all rises, in that part, the so-called judge, was supposed to be raising the people so that when he comes in, he can do his business, and when all rise, he supposedly brings the people to life, and then when he's done, he says all rise, then he puts them back in the dead, and he walks out. So in discovering those things, of course, being nobles, when they came in, we didn't rise, and then discovering that their bar was at the gate where you walk through and said, come to the microphone.
Yes.
So we didn't go there, and we stood outside of that portion and spoke and said we didn't agree with any of this and didn't agree with that contract and didn't consent to this, and all our business was concluded, and we were going to leave at that time. So as we were leaving, the bailiff ran to the back door and looked at the judge and said, you're just going to let them leave? And they did, and we left. So the thing about raising to life, that's the part where they're doing that action, just as you're saying, raising them to life. They're supposedly raising us to life when they say stand and all that. But as we discovered, it has to be voluntarily done. And if you don't, silence is acquiescence. And if you don't speak forth and reject that and do not agree to it on the record, then you are a citizen or subject to that. They did deal with the corporate person on that, but nothing came about for the private person, because you did at that particular time, we're not there now, but at that particular time, they were doing the failure to appear things, but none of that was done, and they dealt with the corporate person on that, and that was the bottom line of it. But the raising to the dead, the raising, making the people alive when the so-called judge comes in to do the business, and when he goes out, he puts them back, that is definitely correct.
Yes. Well, see, here's the difference. When they do it, and then the fake will come in and kill everybody off before they even sit down. They'll say be seated. So they're essentially seating everyone when they do that. When they come in, they do that. Okay? And the thing is, they don't have the authority to raise us from the dead. They're dead. How can they raise anybody from the dead? But what they're really doing is they're enjoining themselves to the living when they do that. See, they know that we're alive already and that we can never be dead. They know that. Okay? But they want to enjoin themselves to the living and then use your sovereign status to enslave you. That's what they're really doing. That's why they say be seated. Okay? But they have to raise everybody up, and if there are any living, and that's why those places were so filled with the living. Because we didn't know that we were alive and they're dead, and they're trying to enjoin with us so that they can be quote-unquote joint heirs and take from us that which is rightfully ours.
Islam?
So, yes, Islam.
No, I was just agreeing.
Yes, yes. I mean, so that's what they were doing. However, we're doing the opposite of that. We're literally raising them from the dead so that none of that can take place. See, the sovereigns cannot depend on anything that's foreign to us. And everything dead is foreign to the Creator. Everything dead is foreign to us. That's why we need everything to be alive and naturally living, naturalized living. And that's what we just did. So when you're going about doing your demonstrations, just be sure to all rise and stand, and then, because see, even at the grocery stores and everything, on the spot, I'm doing court actions on the spot, just like that. All rise and stand, and I'll look them straight in the eye, because I already know they know what this is. This is not foreign to them. They know what this is. They've been waiting for us to raise them from the dead, just so that everyone is aware. They've been waiting for that. For them, that's the great Christian hope, that the dead in Christ shall rise first. That's really what this is.
Islam.
Yes, Islam is it.
Just had a quick question. When we do the court actions on the spot, what if the person does not have their name on their shirt or blouse? How would we get
when
them
you
to
ask them, they will. When you say what is your name, they not once did they not tell me their name or show me a badge or put their shoulder forward, or they always gave me their name. Whenever I said, what is your name? But see, when we speak to them like the Creator speaks to them, they're going to tell you their name. And if they don't tell you their name, then you know they're acting as a corpse. So then you just say, you've been properly identified as a corpse. I hereby raise you from the dead so that you can hear. Silence is acquiescence to our sovereign jurisdiction anyway.
Okay, it's wrong.
You see?
That's not what Melo said in her.
You see what I'm saying? So, that it's a win-win for us. All day, every day, a win-win. I'm telling you, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, but I saw it with my own eyes. Repeatedly, it saved my skin in there. The ancestors, seriously, the ancestors would not get us this far out here and just leave us hanging. The ancestors would never do that. And by the way, I want to say this too to the Moors, because some of you are battle weary. Some of you are tired, and we get it. I promise you we get it. Some of you are tired, and you're really ready for this to be over. I would say to you, speak life to yourself first. Then you can speak life to them. Speak life to yourself first. Then you can speak life to them.
Islam?
Islam.
You know something? The other day, I was looking at one of the videos from that Mark Christopher guy, and sometimes I'll check out, different people, see what they have going on. But this particular video, he had some paperwork from, I forgot, it was supposed to be from some government that was coming after the alleged Pope. And in the paperwork, he said, it was on his website, it said that they were charging the Pope for something that have to do with the church and like the people that were baptized and stealing souls that was lost at sea. something in there, it said it about that the church was stealing souls that was lost at sea, and he specifically put in there, stated, like, do you see where they're saying they're stealing souls? They're literally trying to steal souls. People don't understand that that's what they're doing, and if anyone knows about their alleged government, their de facto government, it's tied to their church and their religion. So the same what you're talking about with the rising of the dead and stuff at court, they're literally doing these things. They're like when people die and get it embalmed and stuff, they're coming after people's souls. So I would say for people definitely to do their research, because a lot of information is coming out more and more that they can see what you're saying is true. And then a second part to this, well, I have three parts. The second part to this is I did that exact court action that you stated that you did when you were away. I did that via email. In a court case, I showed you that court case before. It was a foreclosure, but it's a foreclosure dealing with it was a company that we owned, and it was myself and consort on there. So when they came after us, they came after all three, the straw man for myself, the straw man for my consort, and the business. And I did the court action on Thursday via email, because we had like this date coming up. So I said, no, I'm going to do that for him and that alleged judge that they're calling the judge. I did it via email Thursday night, and by Friday, they were sending paperwork saying they were trying to dismiss it off of me and my consort. Immediately, like that morning, like it was 11:30 in the morning.
They've been waiting on this for over 1,000 years, Over 1,000 years they've been waiting. And I knew they were waiting for us to do something, but I wasn't sure what it was until the ancestors said that's it right there.
Yeah. And then the last thing I was going to say to you, because I've been waiting since probably about Friday, besides the court action, because that happened, you guys, like that happened through email too. That like I didn't have to say it in front of them, and I have proof of it, because I sent it and then they sent it back. So that happened immediately. But also, I was looking at Reawakening Minds, and they had, what's his name? I don't know if it was Maurice L., and he was talking about enforcing the Constitution and all the constitutions prior to the United States Constitutions, the treaties and so forth. And he was saying in there, I believe it might have been, I don't know if it was Article 25. He had it up. I just don't have it in front of me. Bottom line, there were two treaties. One for the first 50 years that we granted, and then the second one for another 50 years that we granted, and that we know that it's over. He said it was something key in there that I thought about, and I'm like, I don't know if we did this, the consulate did this, or anybody did this so far, but it stated in there that after the 50 years, even though that it expired, that both would remain doing, commerce or whatever the case may be, until one of them gives the other notice. And they had to have a year's notice. It's a 12-month notice. So the treaty spelled out we had to give them 12 months notice that we wanted to end commerce, and then they can go bye-bye. So I'm wondering, because I know what we're doing is we're already saying, we don't need you no more. We can do this ourselves. We got this. But I didn't know, did we give that notice? Because by the time I came to the consulate, I don't know if they have done it, or do I need to do that to give them notice to cut them off? Because if we don't need them anymore, then that means that treaty, to me, it seems like it would have to go bye-bye in that sense, for them doing commerce, so we can do our own stuff and take over.
Yes, that is exactly, that's with every lien that the Moors put on the public record. That was what we were saying, is no, we got it from here. We don't need them to do anything for us. We really don't, because we're all competent. We've proven. Many of us have gone up through the ranks of corporations all the way up to the top, and, you know, only to be, you know, let go because, you know, we weren't in our proper status. So we already know how to do everything. We know how to run our estate. And they're proving that they're so incompetent at governing anything, and they were never really governing anything. We've always still been the government. But they're so incompetent that we just, you know, they have to go. They, I mean, you know, we don't need that type of. I mean, look at the place that we went. You know, our latest warehouse property. It was just a giant mess. How competent do you have to be to clean it up?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But they didn't even get out there and do that. No, right. We got it. We got
it. That doesn't belong to you, Pauline, and it never will.
You can go ahead and just,
it doesn't belong.
You know, you can go ahead and go back where you came from, you know,
right.
because we got this. You know what I'm saying?
Because it definitely doesn't belong to them, and that's why they're on these calls. You know, they're trying to, and that showed me immediately when I did that action. And immediately, I mean, the next day they tried to, I said, this is crazy. I didn't think it was going to be so quick. But, you know, anytime I get a demonstration, because, you know, the property, we're trying to keep the property, we're maintaining the property. We've been in the property. We've been in it for years before they even decided to do that foreclosure action. And I said, no, we're going to keep this property. So we were in it before, and we've been in it ever since. But now they're trying to remove us, and they think that they could just deal with the business. But I had already, you know, put in my information, like you said, the allodial title, the ancient Aboriginal land title. And at this point, you know, as far as the Constitution goes, you know, you'll be infringing on, you know, my rights and my liberties on trying to go there. You're still dealing with the Moors. I don't know if he thought that taking the straw man off was going to remove us. Like, but it doesn't, because, you know, we still put the property into the, the trust. The property is in the trust, and we have the allodial title. And the guy, Lamont L., he said he did the same thing. He has the allodial. He has the ancient Aboriginal title. This was on the February 16th, a House of Reawakening Minds, for those who want to look it up via YouTube. And he said his case was acquitted. He just brought up the Constitution and kept with the treaties and said, no, you know, you guys don't have any delegation of authority because they need it through us. You have no authority. You can't show it. You never had. And y'all need it through us. And that's the way he did it. And, you know, when I did that court action, I said that, and I put that in there, you know, what you said. And I said, you guys don't have any delegation of authority, and I don't see nothing on record nor in my possession. It's over. It's a wrap. And the next day, it was done.
Empress, I'm so glad to hear that, because it was instant in there. When I was in there, the ancestors wanted me to see that instantly they have to do exactly what we tell them to do on the spot. They didn't even hesitate. They didn't act like they didn't know who was talking. They didn't act like they don't know who the Moors are. They got away from that court cell. And I've scanned in the documents from there, and I had an opportunity to look over the documents, and I was laughing so hard that, I mean, no one should laugh that hard at documents. But they didn't even want to sign their own document.
They don't. I've seen that plenty of times with those alleged judges. They will not, if they know that they're doing stuff wrong, they know that you know, they are not going to sign a dang thing repeatedly. Nobody will. That
thing has one signature that I found on there, and it was superimposed. It was a copy of a signature on the document. On all those pages that they had, one signature. One. The rest of the stuff had no signatures on it. None. And then they threw one in there at the last minute saying, you know, if you agree to come to court on March the 3rd or something like that, and this was talking to the court, if you agree to come to court on the 3rd, sign below. And, of course, I didn't sign anything. You know, I wasn't going to autograph any of the fraud, and I wasn't even going to eat fraudulent food, so they knew they weren't getting anything out of me. And when you look at the documents, oh dear, they're so incompetent. They have to go. It's so sick. The incompetence is just crazy. They have to go. They put on there that an interpreter was needed because I was speaking ancient English, and then I cast some spells in some of the other languages that we cast spells in French and Latin and Turkish and ancient English. And because I was speaking that, they said that they needed an interpreter.
Wow.
I'm like, you know what? You guys are out of here. You're so incompetent. You got to go. They don't even deserve to, like, our land. If you can't even pick up dirty clothes that's on the ground outside on our land, you're incompetent to govern anything. So it's a wrap. It's a wrap. And that's what we've done today, again, for the whole earth. Everybody on the earth, wake up. Everybody on the earth. Wake up. You are awake. You're alive. And you're in subject status. All of those foreign hybrids are in subject status. Now, the original indigenous sovereigns of the land, you know, our brothers and sisters over in the other Africa and the other Asia, because we know this is Africa and Asia too here, they are the indigenous, you know, they're the other nations. We're going to be doing commerce with them and, you know, so on and so forth. I'm looking forward to all of that. And believe it or not, they're already here on this land waiting to do commerce with us. So I'm excited about that part now that we're getting that corporate mess out of the way and putting them in their proper status, because they couldn't put themselves in their proper status. We had to do it. We had to wake up and be competent to do it, and we just did it today. And then we'll just keep doing it. Like we'll keep doing court actions. We'll just keep doing it. We're going to be, I'm going to, you know, there's a whole bunch of mailings that our sovereign Moorish Postmaster General is going to be delivering, and that's me too, that we're going to be delivering throughout the territory. If I have to stand in the front of the grocery store and read it out loud so everybody, you know, and do the court action out loud right there, I will do that, because you know, we don't hold back around here. Whatever we have to do to get it out there that the heirs are awake and everyone else is in subject status who's not of the bloodline and birthright, so that we can get moving, because we got stuff to do. We got work to do on our land. And we don't need to be hindered and hampered and worried about somebody snatching us off the street somewhere and all of that. And that's what that test was for when I went in there, was to ensure that we got to that point right there. You know, and all Moors have been testing in different ways to get us all to this point, you know. So let's do it. Let's get it cracking, and let's keep going with these court actions. This is why the Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey has been pressing the concert court, that whole sovereign action, those sovereign actions, because we need to do it. He knew how powerful they were, and now we can all see how powerful they are. Empress Shade, thank you for that testament, because it just, you know, it punctuates what we're saying, you know. And Justice Nana, I can't wait for you to see how quickly it works. Just send an email or send an affidavit or deliver an affidavit somewhere in the territory that says all rise and stand. This is a sovereign living Article 3 Moorish American al-Moroccan. Make sure you put Moroccan in there, because we are Moroccans. We're the descendants of Moroccans born at America, just like the 101s say. And we want to be sure that we're including our sovereign Moroccan heritage and bloodline and birthright in everything that we do.
Islam,
are there any other questions? Yes, Islam.
I guess that's good timing, because I'm formulating something now dealing with those utilities. Two of them got X's on, working on the third one. Is that going to be underneath your copy underneath this video?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the language is going to be right underneath this video, along with all of the documents. The website has been down for a few days, so you can get all the documents that you need right under this video. On the last few videos, the documents will be underneath in red, already decapitalized. All you have to do is edit them a little bit, format them a little bit, and sign them in red in all lowercase letters. So what you need is there. And then also Justice Giramore and them have a website as well where they're going to have documents on there as well. Justice Giramore, you want to say a little bit about the website?
In Islam, I'll formulate that into that. Thank you.
Yes, Justice. Yes, do that. And I can't wait to hear how quickly you get the results that you're looking for. I just know it. I just know it in my spirit. It's gonna work out exactly.
Tell them what they win, Don. Jail, jail.
Islam.
Yes,
Islam.
Justice Giramore.
Yeah, I want to be certain that I have a specific time when it'll be ready before I say any major announcement about it. But it's more than halfway there, and it will be in constant upgrading, and we will have our own private chat engine in it too, which we can build for worldwide communication. Islam.
Islam. Thank you. Just let us know so that we can make sure that the word gets out about that website. But while we're waiting on that, all the documents that you need are going to be under these videos. The termination of corporate contracts, there's lien documents, there's court action documents, the seal and stamp of the government and the consulate are going to be under here as well. So anyone who needs that, you can take those and apply them to your documents as well. Whatever you need is going to be underneath this video, and then these websites will be coming, on to the website, onto what you need. Hold on just one moment. Okay, I had put myself on mute because there's someone blending a smoothie in the background, and I didn't want it to be that loud for you all. Are there any other questions or comments with regard to anything that's been said or done?
Islam. You know what? I have something else to say because I've seen Frank L. He had put in the chat about the consular notification access manual. I forgot it was something in there as well that was on that session on Reawakening Minds that day. And he did state when they opened up the manual, they actually went to the page where it says that all of the foreign law, basically enforcers, whatever they want to call themselves, policy enforcers, they have to, even if they don't know your nationality and you don't have paperwork on you, they have to ask you, and if you say that you are not, whatever your nationality is, without even having those documents on you, they have to treat you as such and give notification to the consulate about you without having the documents. And I guess what I'm saying that because a lot of times they try to, take your identity from you when you say that you're a Moor. I've had one time in court where they say, oh, she says she's a Moor and she's not, and she's lying or something like that. And they tried to take it from me just immediately without having nothing, and said that in documents to one of their colorable judges one day. And I got on him, and then he immediately removed it. But they'll do that to you. But in that manual, it states on how they're supposed to do with foreign, because we're foreign to the United States, and they're saying what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to operate, and we got to hold them to it.
we got to hold them to that, and that's where the study comes in. But that's the only thing I have to say about that. Besides, I don't know if you mentioned anything about the planet's alignment for today, because I had missed the very beginning.
I hadn't said anything about it, but I'm glad you brought it up, because we are right in the middle of the new moon, and it is so powerful at this point. Go ahead, Justice Gilmore. I think you were going to say something about that.
I wanted to just talk about that little piece about we are foreign to the United States. We are not foreign to anything. They are foreign to us.
Islam.
That's the United States of America. America is not foreign. They are foreigners on this land with a right to do certain things, civil rights, so to speak. And that's it. But we are not foreign to them.
Yes.
Islam.
Islam.
You know, it is a subtle difference, but a very important one.
Yes, it is.
Islam. I yield.
So. Islam. So by raising them from the dead, they are no longer foreign. They are subjects. They are subjects. And they are to do exactly as commanded. And I'm telling you, I saw it with my own eyes. They did just that. That's why the consular venue is so important, is because it makes the difference between them acting as fake corpses or them knowing that they are subject to the Moors on the land. That's the difference. Put them in the consular venue and they will get right in alignment. Raise them from the dead by way of the consular venue. They will do whatever they're supposed to be doing. Having said that, I believe that's all we have for today. Thank you for participating in the event of the court actions where they're concerned, because you know they need to hear us speak as a nation with regard to all that has to do with us. And I'll give you all an update soon with regard to that. Peace and
All looking at things you already did. These guys are so intense. It's always don't let women touch the cameras. It's a highly technical skill. Look through a whole push on the bus. Over there. They all think they're Federico Fellini. Well,